Hi everyone, I'm Tom and today I'm going to be showing you Mine 77. In this game we play as Dwarven Overseers in charge of some miners who need to mine things for the Dwarven government. I'm sure they've got our best interests at heart and it's in our interests to fulfill their orders. While we're at it though, if we can get a bit of something for ourselves and try and advance our own interests along the way, there's no harm in that, is there? This is on Kickstarter right now. I've got a prototype here, should give you a good idea of what the final thing will look like. But as always, head to the Kickstarter page, see all of the final stuff, any extras the game will come with, and also info on how to get hold of it and how to make it happen. So over at my player board here, it's a bit sparse to begin with. Later on I can get more warehouses, I can do some research and unlock things, and I have a deck of basic work cards. There is an easy version of the work deck that replaces a couple of cards that give you more options, but the cards will give you some combination of actions or movement. You'll start a shift with 5 of these cards in your hand, and on your turn, at the start of the morning shift, you'll play one of these cards and apply the movements and actions to either one of your workers, or if it's got this symbol, it has to be 2 different workers. You can complement these with rosettes and magic that you can earn throughout the game. Rosettes can give you extra movement, magic can give you loads of extra movement, or even an action. But you've got to have it first, so at the start of the game you might only be moving a couple of steps and doing an action. In the multiplayer game, all players play their cards in secret and then reveal, and the lowest initiative in the bottom corner will go first and then we'll play in order. Well, we have 2 Rondells. We have one on the surface here that has a load of actions and one below that's got all of the mining actions. We all start at this entrance above ground, and when you do your movement on your turn, so if I had played this card giving me 2 movements and an activation, I can use that movement to just go around my surface rondel and then I would do an action here. But I can also use a movement to descend down to this elevator. You can't use movement to come back up though. You can come back up later if you make deliveries on the trains. But you will want to send some workers down here to get your stuff. So that could be one of my movements. The second could be over here to, say, farming. And then to do anything here, I'll need an activation. Luckily, I played a card that gave me one. Spaces are limited based on player count. I'm set up for a 2-player, well, solo game here. So a couple of spaces are permanently blocked off, but to use my activation, I'd pop a marker down there. 2 more people today can do it in the morning or afternoon shifts. And we could look at how we get stuff. We've got 3 fields here in columns. I can pick all of the things from one of the fields and put them in whatever combination I like in these trains. I can see that today's order, what the government wants, we want some flax, we want some lichen, some coal. Well, this field right here has got 3 flax and a lichen. So I could choose that field, I get everything from it, but it doesn't go to me. It's got to be, heavily supervised. We've got to sneak this stuff out. You put it in some combination on the train cars, so maybe I just want to put it all on the same place. But you can split it up if you want to. And then you can choose to put your worker on one of the train cars where you put stuff in the lowest numbered seat. So hey, I'll put him in the number 1. You can also get resources by mining. There are 2 mining cards on display. You can choose one of the cards and take all of the resources in the light or dark section. Later on, when someone takes the shipping action, this is how the trains come back. You can just jump on a cart at this point, but the carts in order are going to be inspected. So if a cart had resources and nobody on it, the resources just go back to the supply. There's no one there to tell the guards what's going on. But as long as there's someone on here, we can see, is anything on this cart relevant to today's order? Yes, it is. Everything that can be put on the card is delivered to today's government work order. So that would all go on there. This is any metals, so we haven't got any metals because we did the farming. And you would stock this up when you did the action. You slide everything along and then you fill one of the new columns with stuff from here. Every player that had workers on here would get 2 points each. We want points, we might lose them throughout the game. If anyone ever loses minus 10 points, the game will end prematurely and that player, no matter what they get from final scoring, has lost. Everyone else is eligible to win. So then we have resources and we'd have a share out. So the person in the first position would choose one of the resources to put in their personal private warehouse. If there's anyone in the number 2 seat, they would get second pick. There can be people in the cargo position, they'd get third pick. And we go round and round until there's no resources left to share out. So the guards have taken what's needed for the government order and kind of overlooked these extras that we've put in for ourselves. If you're the only person on there, you get all the extra goodies. Brilliant. And then you would get dropped off back at the top rondel, and that's how you can end up back up here. You can also get put on the train just for movement. A lot of actions like mining, moving the train, shredding our cards will require steam to be depleted. It starts out at 3, but it will run out, and a lot of actions are disabled while we haven't got any steam. At certain times, in night shifts, if there isn't enough steam, everyone will get punished. So you can come here to use your resources to generate some steam and get some rewards, but ever too much is generated because you got too greedy, or maybe you don't want other people to use your steam, there is an explosion, everyone loses points, and it gets reset back to 0. Anytime that players get penalised, they can get rid of 2 rosettes, which you can earn in a lot of different ways to not incur that penalty. The elevator room's interesting because when you enter it, if there's already a worker of yours in there, you get a rosette. But if there are already 5 workers in here, then a fight is triggered. Someone randomly gets put in the lowest level of the hospital, and if your worker's still in there after the fight, then you can trade resources 2 to 1, 2 of anything for 1 of anything. When your workers are put in the various stages of hospital, maybe they're having fights here, maybe they're going on patrol and encountering baddies, you can spend specific or any resources to get them through levels of the hospital back onto the board, or you can just wait until the night phase and they will drop a step automatically. Up top here, we've got the processing station. Here you can spend a steam for each processing action you want to do. You can do as many as you can afford, as many as there's steam for and resources you have. And there's loads of different transfers you can do. There's helper cards to remind us of these things, like turning resources into straight up points, or magic. We've already seen magic can be turned into 8 movement or an extra activation, or a resource of any kind if you'd like to use it like that. Rosettes can be extra movement. They can be spent to stop taking penalties and for more stuff too. You can research. You can spend the resources required to grab one of these available research tiles. You'd pay for it, grab it, and come to your research section and place it somewhere. You can't move or rearrange these things once you've popped them down. If you fill columns, you can get magic points for rosettes. If you fill in rows, though, it's how you'll get upgrades. Like you can get this crane, which you can spend once per day. Whenever you do an action that gets resources, you can grab 2 of them straight into your supply instead of putting them on the train carts or the main warehouse in the middle here. Or with the incinerator, you can burn your own resources, up to 2 of them, and get rosettes or private steam, which can be spent whenever you need steam for something, but only you have access to that. The warehouses just give you extra space in here. You do start with your small extension, can have magic in it, but nothing else. But once you've built it, it can have anything in it, and a large extension too. So a lot to be gained from research. And if you fill the whole thing, you get all of the column bonuses again. You can come up to the commissariat and you can give them bribes in the form of rosettes to grab new cards. They go straight into your hand and are basically much more powerful than your original cards, or you can get ones that will adjust your hand size. So these just go at the top of your board. And for the rest of the game, you've got an extra hand size. There are 3 of these in the deck, and one player can have up to 2 of them. So really have a lot of choice in what they do. You can come over to the Elven Embassy. Up to 3 players can do this. And at night, so after we've had 2 full phases of shifts, at night, we'll get a choice of these Elven Embassy cards. These are basically extra orders. Whenever you go and do actions that get you resources required by an Elven Embassy order that you've got will automatically teleport here. No need for trains and government checks and stuff. And if you can fulfill their order, you can either have 3 magic or 2 points, and they can be worth points at the end of the game too. You can come to the Special Shredder, and that's how you can thin out your deck, get rid of your basic cards once you've started upgrading. And I think the last thing I haven't talked about is going on patrol. There are potential patrol cards out in the display that tell you how many rewards are available and how many people you need to go on patrol with you, at least. So at least 1 there. When you would choose to actually go, you go in the 1 position as the leader. Anyone else here, you can decide what order they'll go in. And then you reveal the patrol card and grab a resolution card. Sometimes they're a bit offset like this. And that shows you what all the paths are going to be. So based on where they started, you can see over here, sometimes there are threats that require you to spend something. Sometimes it's specific. Sometimes it can be anything. Sometimes there are just wounds that you'll take. If you can't pay the penalty, you'll have to take a wound. Sometimes you'll just have to take a wound without spending anything. If you get to the bottom and you haven't taken 3 wounds, then you'll get a special reward. It can be resources, rosettes. It can be awards. And awards can be spent later. This one for 2 steam. This one to reduce the initiative of a card you've just played by 3. And this one to get a magic. And then based on how many wounds you took, if you took 3 before you got to the end, you go to the highest level of the hospital and you get nothing. If you got 2 wounds, you get the reward, but you'll end up here. 1 wound, you get the reward, but you'll end up here. If you took no wounds, not only do you get the reward, but you can put yourself on any of the trains as well after this. So it's all done through the action cards. We'll take it in turns to play 3 actions in the shift. You can potentially play a 4th, but you have to pay a rosette to be allowed to do that. So then we've had our 3rd, potentially 4th order. Then we have the day shift. We do it again, 3, potentially 4 actions. Then we have the night phase where we have cleanup, the Elven embassy cards get added in, the worker spots become available again. And depending on the length of the game, we'll either go for 3 or 4 days. In that night shift, the government order is resolved. If it's not fulfilled, everybody is punished. They'll lose a point, but you can spend 2 rosettes to avoid that. And steam maintenance happens. If the steam is positive, it stays that way for the next morning shift. But if it's negative, everyone loses a point. Spend 2 rosettes to avoid it. At the end of the week, the end of the game, you will get points for rosettes you have, magic you have, trophies you've scored can be worth a point each. You can play with secret objectives that will score you extra points, like you get a choice of 2 at the start of the game if you want to play with them. For example, if you are the overseer with the most workers in hospital, you get an extra point for every worker in hospital, up to 5. Or you can be a good comrade. If you're the overseer with the most commissariat work orders, so the cards that you buy throughout the game, you get a point for each one you have, up to 4. Added to the points that you earn throughout the game, the most points wins. Unless somebody at some point got to minus 10 points, ended the game prematurely, and they are out of the running for it. There are 2 solo modes included in the game. Well, 2 solo opponents. There is Simple Sergio, who ignores a lot of the action, starts out with some extra things, and has a specific work order deck. They'll reveal a card and see if they've got a worker that, through 5 movement, can they get to mining? Sometimes they want to move towards something rather than actually get to it. But if they can get to the mining action, they will move there and do it. If no workers could achieve this with 5 movement, then you go to the bottom thing instead. With 5 movements, can someone get to steam generation instead? And they would do that. Certain actions Sergio skips. That's why I've got all of those crossed out spaces on the board. I can still do them, but it's just to remind me that he doesn't do them. And if he can't do anything at all, then he gains a rosette. You can also play against dutiful Rosanna, who has her own work order deck. And in a similar way, we'll try and do the top thing. If they can't, they'll do the bottom thing. Rosanna will spend rosettes as extra movement, like a player might. Will activate a lot more of the actions and can do research, which Sergio doesn't do. So there's 2 different opponents, layers of complexity to put in there, and you can include those either in the solo game, because you need somebody to play against, or you can even put them in the 2-player game as well to tighten things up. And there we go, that's Mine 77. I hope you enjoyed that and it gave you an idea of what the game is going to be like. Again, you can go over to the Kickstarter page and see all of the final stuff there, or you can check out my playthrough. I'm going to be playing a solo game of this, so look out for that coming up on the channel as well. Thank you very much for watching this though, and I'll see you for the next game. Bye everyone.